Welcome to WION Pulse and thank you for staying with us. I'm Eric Njoka. The headlines. President Trump blasts the United Nations and Europe on his return to the wild body, warning that Western countries were going to hell because of migration and calling climate change a con job.
All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle, and then a teleprompter that didn't work.
President Trump questions the purpose of the United Nations in his 55-minute speech, says the international body has given him a bad escalator and a bad teleprompter as both trip. The U.S. Secret Service dismantles a network of more than 100,000 SIM cards that could have crushed New York's telecommunications network ahead of the United Nations General Assembly, links the threat to nation-state actors. Kolkata faces severe flooding as heavy rains disrupt train and metro services, mud streets and halt daily life. Extreme downpours have claimed 11 lives across the city and suburbs. Taiwan's fire department says 30 people were missing and 2 people had died in the eastern county of Hualien, where a barrier lake in the mountains burst its banks due to Super Typhoon Ragasa. Turkey is experiencing its worst drought in over half a century, with rainfall dropping by 27% compared to the last 3 decades and even more in some regions. The World Health Organization says neither the painkiller Tylenol nor vaccines have shown to cause autism, following comments from the US President and his administration to the contrary.
A Leominster family saying that ICE agents held their 5-year-old daughter outside their home to get her father to surrender. So in this video of the incident obtained by Telemundo, the mother can be heard demanding her daughter's return. And they tell us Edward Hip, who was from Guatemala, had lived in the U.S. for 22 years. On Tuesday, he was driving home with his daughter when he thought he was being followed. They say he made it inside the home while agents grabbed the little girl. And at some point, Leominster police arrived and returned the child to the family. However, 2 days later, the family says federal agents returned to that house and arrested Hip.
وبناء على المحكمة الدولية الفلسطينية فقد تقرر حكم الإعدام على كل المتظاهرين الذين كانوا الوطن وصانوا شعبهم وصانوا قضيتهم ووضعوا أيديهم بأيدي الاحتلال من أجل قتل أبناء شعب هؤلاء المتظاهرين. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. وبناء على المحكمة الدولية الفلسطينية فقد تقرر حكم الإعدام على كل المتظاهرين الذين كانوا الوطن وصانوا شعبهم وخانوا قضيتهم ووضعوا أيديهم بأيدي الاحتلال من أجل قتل أبناء شعب هؤلاء المتخابرين. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
سرب النسور تقدم.
وبناء على المحكمة الثورية الفلسطينية فقد تقرر حكم الإعدام على كل المتكبرين الذين خانوا الوطن وخانوا شعبهم وخانوا قضيتهم ووضعوا أيديهم بأيدي الاحتلال من أجل قتل أبناء شعب هؤلاء المتكبرين. الله أكبر.
My record-setting first term. On our southern border, we have successfully repelled a colossal invasion, and for the last 4 months, and that's 4 months in a row, the number of illegal aliens admitted and entering our country has been 0. Hard to believe, because if you look back just a year ago, it was millions and millions of people pouring in from all over the world, from prisons, from mental institutions, drug dealers. All over the world they came. They just poured into our country with the ridiculous open border policy of the Biden administration. Our message is very simple. If you come illegally into the United States, you're going to jail, or you're going back to where you came from, or perhaps even further than that. You know what that means. I want to thank the country of El Salvador for the successful and professional job they've done in receiving and jailing so many criminals that entered our country. And it was under the previous administration that the number became record-setting, and they're all being taken out. We have no choice. And other countries have no choice, because other countries are in the exact same situation with immigration. It's destroying your country, and you have to do something about it. Play a productive role. I've come here today to offer the hand of American leadership and friendship to any nation in this assembly that is willing to join us in forging a safer, more prosperous world. And it's a world that we'll be much happier with. A dramatically better future is within our reach. But to get there, we must reject the failed approaches of the past and work together to confront some of the greatest threats in history. There is no more serious danger to our planet today than the most powerful and destructive weapons ever devised by man, of which the United States, as you know, has many. Just as I did in my first term, I've made containing these threats a top priority, starting with the nation of Iran. My position is very simple. The world's #1 sponsor of terror can never be allowed to possess the most dangerous weapon. That's why, shortly after taking office, I sent the so-called Supreme Leader a letter making a generous offer. I extended a pledge of full cooperation in exchange for a suspension of Iran's nuclear program. The regime's answer was to continue their constant threats to their neighbors and U.S. interests throughout the region, and some great countries that are right nearby. Today, many of Iran's former military commanders, in fact, I can say almost all of them, are no longer with us. They're dead. And 3 months ago, in Operation Midnight Hammer, 7 American B-2 bombers dropped the 14 30,000-pound each bombs on Iran's key nuclear facilities, totally obliterating everything No other country on earth could have done what we did. No other country has the equipment to do what we did. We have the greatest weapons on earth. We hate to use them. But we did something that for 22 years people wanted to do. With Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity demolished, I immediately brokered an end to the 12-day war, as it's called, between Israel and Iran, with both sides agreeing to fight no longer. An example of that. Not only is the UN not solving the problems it should, too often, it's actually creating new problems for us to solve. The best example is the #1 political issue of our time, the crisis of uncontrolled migration. It's uncontrolled. Your countries are being ruined. The United Nations is funding an assault on Western countries and their borders. In 2024, the UN budgeted $372 million in cash assistance to support an estimated 624,000 migrants journeying into the United States. Think of that. The UN is supporting people that are illegally coming into the United States, and then we have to get them out. The UN also provided food, shelter, transportation, and debit cards to illegal aliens. Can you believe that? On the way to infiltrate our southern border. Millions of people came through that southern border. Just a year ago, millions and millions of people were pouring in, 25 million altogether over the 4 years of the incompetent Biden administration. And now we have it stopped, totally stopped. In fact, they're not even coming anymore because they know they can't get through. But what took place is totally unacceptable. The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them. In the United States, we reject the idea that mass numbers of people from foreign lands can be permitted to travel halfway around the world, trample our borders, violate our sovereignty, cause unmitigated crime, and deplete our social safety net. We have reasserted that America belongs to the American people, and I encourage all countries to take their own stand in defense of their citizens as well. You have to do that because I see it. I'm not mentioning names. I see it, and I can call every single one of them out. You're destroying your countries. They're being destroyed.